So now we're going to do the bed and bed frame installation, and the first thing that we want to do is these are the upper bearing blocks, and all we want to do is break these loose, and what that does is allow this bearing block to float. You don't want it to bind up when you start moving it up and down, so all you're going to do is just break the screws on both sides so you allow that to float. Not much float, but a little bit could bind you up. So we'll put the bed frame in from the top, just like we took it out. It might get hung up on the nut cups, so you just have to be careful with that, and you want to pull it forward so it doesn't fall. And it should be resting on your four basic spacers on each side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these three pieces of hardware in with the eccentrics. So I always start from the rear, and this is the rear. Cutout goes to the rear. I'm feeling brave today. I did not put any tape over the grease Z-rod, so either I'll wear grease or I won't. So when you put these in, since the bed's already in on the Z upright, you have to basically take and make the piece of hardware flush. Put your V-groove wheel in there. Oop. And I was also pulling the bed forward at the same time. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten this, because in tightening this, it's going to keep the bed from shifting back if you bump it or something. And once again, my black mark is still facing away from my Z upright. The black mark goes away from your Z upright. So what I did is I just rocked it back and forth to make sure it's set in there properly, because you don't want it cocked one way or the other. I like tightening all of these as I go. And this is just an initial tightening. I'm going to have to adjust the V-groove wheels once when you have them all on. It's probably best not to take the grease and lay it on top of your bed, your printing surface, so that way you don't contaminate it. There we go. That's one side. Grease is just holding that eccentric in place. It also adds as a little lubricant whenever you go to do the adjustment, so it doesn't solely gouge out the aluminum. I'm going to push the bed forward. I don't know if you saw that. You still have a little bit of movement there. So if it's back like that, it's not going to, your piece of hardware is not going to go through that eccentric. Once again, you're going to make it flush. You're going to bring it up there, and it's going to, here at the end, they should slide right in, because you've already got them on the other side. And you got the back one on here. And I saw it move a little bit, so I'm going to straighten it up. There, all your V-groove wheels are on. Now you're going to have, before you tie in the side plate to the nut cup, we're going to have to make sure that we have a proper tension on the V-groove wheels. So it makes it a little bit harder whenever the bed's on here, but it is possible. So I'm pushing the bed frame forward to make sure I have good contact with these two rear wheels that are not adjustable. So I've got it where it's so tight I cannot spin the V-groove wheel. So you want to back off to where you can, where it should have some friction on it, but it's not real easy to turn. And then check your other wheels, so there should be a little friction on these two also. So what I'm doing here are these two wheels. I'm going towards the center of the plate here. So to tighten it, I'm going towards the center, and if they get too tight, then I know I have to go away from the center. These two wheels that are on in the center here, I'm going to go towards the, to tighten it, I'm going to go towards the Z-rod here. If they get too tight, I'm going to go away from it. So these are going to be tightening this way, these are going to be tightening this way. Once again, these, you're going to get them where there's a little friction on it. It's a little hard to turn them. Once when you do that, you come to this one back here. Start tightening it up. And the idea is these are going to be pinching this Z upright, and this is going to be, these are going to be pinching the rear Z upright. So there we go. That side's initially done. What I like to do is, since you've been twisting these around, I come back and I'll do a final torque on them, and you have to check them again because sometimes they'll rotate on you just a little bit, and they'll either be too tight or too loose. This one's a little tight, so we're going to move away from the center line here. So I went this way to loosen it. and they all feel good. So now what we do is we do the other side. So I picked it up, lifted it up and down a couple times to make sure that there's nothing pinching or binding. Everything's still sitting up on our blocks here. So I'm going to be pushing it forward here and tightening up this V-groove wheel. Once again, tightening these two towards the center. So once again, now that I've done this adjustment, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up all of the wheels, or all of the hardware. And we'll check it again. This is good to have a second person here where you can check the V-groove wheels up at the top to make sure that you're not binding when you get to the top. So this is just a pre-adjustment right now. So the next thing that we'll do is get our M5x12s. So it's good to have a little mirror and a flashlight, because what we're going to do now is go below here, and we're going to line up the nut cup pieces of hardware or threads in the nut cups with the holes in the side of the bed plate here. So they should already be there, or at least be close. And so when you put these in, you notice I'm putting them in not by electric drill motor here. I'm doing it, I want to push down on it. I want to make sure that there's no binding of these pieces of hardware as they go in. Now once when you get them in, you can torque them. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. So we're pretty close there, I think. And you see the nut cup is turning, so initially getting it in there will be the key here. But you don't want to bind them up. Once again, I'll be pressing down on the bed plate to make sure on our little shim blocks there. So I was able to put them in by hand, twisting them all the way down, so I know that it's not binding. It's a good thing to check in between the side plate and the nut clip to make sure that there's no gap in between there. So now, after installing the bed frame with the bed and pre-adjusting the wheels, we want to be able to start checking the wheels to make sure that we get the proper tension on them. So the first thing that we're going to do is we have these little spacers that we put in here, and we've already tied the bed frame to the nut cup. You don't want to remove these unless you've done that. And you have to do this because you can't really plug in the Z motors until you remove these. So now that you remove the shims for the bed side plates, we want to connect up the thermocouple and the heater plate, the heater pad, and we're doing this without it being plugged in and without the power on. So we'll connect that, and which is the heater pad. We'll connect the thermocouples, and then I took that screw out, which is the grounding screw. And before you tighten it, one thing that you want to make sure is that the top of this this connector doesn't come above the top of your bed plate, so you want to pull it down. And then tighten it. So there you go with that. And then the next ones that we'll do is the Z motors. So here's the Z right motor. We're going to connect that, and we'll do the left the same way. Now you're ready to plug it in and turn the power on.